Hi, Dimitri. How are you tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Colin, we're in the frozen winter now. It's dark outside in my
Nice.
little booth. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Is it snowing there in the city?
Not yet, but
Yeah.
it's the first cold ass day.
Cold ash day. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk tonight about the integration group from Tuesday. That would be November 4th, right?
Yeah,
Okay. And the topic was wholeness. What is wholeness?
yeah. Um, and we wrapped that up really easily in a nice little bundle for everyone. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about what brings us um, into the psychedelic experience, and a couple people say they just wanted to feel whole. And it's an interesting metaphor. So, are we whole in our hurt? Are we whole in our pain? Are we fragmented because of hurt and pain? Is that what brings us to the pursuit of wholeness? Or is it a deepening of, of this experience, our humanity, this journey? Um, and so we kind of had that conversation bounced around the table a little bit. And the idea was that if we view ourselves as less than whole, then we're coming from a broken place that needs fixing, which is a disempowering place to be. And so as we sort of uncovered what wholeness meant, someone, I think it was Brian, suggested that it meant, well, he said wholeheartedness. And I like that as a metaphor to sort of riff off of. And if wholeheartedness is the goal or who we are, then I guess brokenheartedness or empty-hearted would be the opposite of wholehearted. So this was the conversation. um, how does the psychedelic experience, or does the psychedelic experience contribute to that feeling of wholeheartedness? Are we trying to fix something if you're brokenhearted? It suggests that there's something good to be fixed in the beginning. And I think that's what the psychedelics can do for us. Often, not always, often. I always have to say
Right.
that they can give us a space in which we can see ourselves as we are, in our whole hearts, in our whole being, whole in our acceptance, whole in our resistance, whole in our anger, whole in our sexuality, whole in identity. And I think for me, personally, that's what the journey's been about, is is seeing the wholeness in the broken, seeing the wholeness in the pain, seeing the wholeness in the resistance. And that's kind of what we riffed on the whole night. I don't know what much to say about that, but it was pretty impactful hour and a half.
Is there any specific conversation or any specific exchange in the session that comes to mind right now?
Yeah, somebody was talking about viewing what they're going through as a spiritual emergency or a spiritual emergence, as opposed to being broken, as opposed to being this thing, this person that needs fixing. And I like that because it's not a linear end to it. It's an emergence. It might be an emergency. So the pain is off, the pain is, or the dysfunction on the material plane is often an indication that something is emerging, and it may break out into an emergency so we can pay attention. And I think that the way that we phrase things, the way that we word things, the way that it helps us in our approach to the psychedelic space. And I like that emergence, as opposed to, I need fixing, this needs to stop. There's an emergency that might be happening, but it's not like one Band-Aid for every emergency. I think that emergence allows for a lot of space around the pursuit of discovering our wholeness.
Okay. Now, the individual that you were referring to, now, did they have, I guess what I'm curious about is like the before and the after. So people come to psychedelics asking questions, and then after the experience of the psychedelics, what did they find out?
They find out that this particular individual, he's still in the emergency. The pain is still there.
Okay.
But his whole worldview shifted from, because there was an emergency, because there was a pain, because there was a disturbance on the physical plane in terms of function, he went into the psychedelic space. And going into the psychedelic space, he was transformed in other ways, as he is still emerging, but meaning that he was open to other ways of being and other ways of healing. So it's a process, and I think he sees it as a process, as opposed to a beginning, middle, and end, which is something that will be removed as we normalize this. That is that psychedelic space, in the psychedelic communal space, the space of the commons, the free and spontaneous exchange, that will be lessened. And that's part of the journey right now. But it remains to be seen, once we professionalize this, whether that space and those opportunities for wholeness will be divided and subdivided and quantified to the point where they won't be such a good space for emergence, because the focus will be on ending what's happening instead of exploring it, meaning that you're not going to be able to bill for spiritual emergence. And that's the goal of the mainstream psychedelic world, the mainstreaming of psychedelics is to make it billable and therefore accessible through the billing, supposedly.
Okay. So does he feel like, or he or she, did they feel like they were getting, at least making some kind of progress to having some kind of a resolution to
I can't speak for them. I think so, yes, but I think that the question of progress has been recontextualized for this person.
Really? In what way?
And that it doesn't necessarily make sense in the human experience.
What doesn't make sense?
Progress in the healing experience. Progress doesn't necessarily make sense. Yes, there's progress when we stop the growth of cancer, the progress, there's progress. But in this internal space, I'm not sure. And I think that's what this person was coming to too, that this is an exploration. It is an emergence.
Okay, so it is an exploration. So and the exploration continues. The journey continues.
Yeah.
So is this person thinking of having another psychedelic experience?
Actually, they went through a bunch of experiences and they're taking it easy for a while, but they're coming to our group because it's a place to meet other people with the same sorts of interest, and going to other things, going down a path that they would not have gone down if it weren't for this.
Okay. So having that support group is actually, it sounds like being in the support group can be just as, or maybe more so, beneficial than the psychedelic experience.
I think that's where the psychedelic is in each other.
Is in each other.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the subway today, man. I was just looking at babies. It was a trip, I got to see a bunch of babies that aren't in my apartment. I mean, there seemed to be a lot of babies. And, I'm just like, that's some weird fucking shit. Babies are some weird shit. Just looking at them, making faces. I mean, that's a psychedelic space. The subway is psychedelic. The freeway is a psychedelic space. Walmart is a psychedelic space. Walmart's real. I actually recommend it for tripping.
Really?
Yeah,
tripping.
Fucking take not like tripping balls, like if you have balls or ovaries or whatever, but like I mean, taking a little bit and going into like spaces like that is always a nice microdose. Yeah, I microdose and I sort of just run free through my neighborhood Target.
Okay.
It's like, actually, it's kind of perfect it's kind of a great setting for, like, because it's just like, I like the sort of comforting feeling of the fluorescent lighting and the bizarre headless bodies of the mannequins and the displays and all that shit. I mean, the wording on stuff. It can be really an interesting place, and
Really?
it's so bountiful, so bountiful. It's like a bounty of plastic.
The thing that I keyed on in that sentence of all that interesting stuff you said was the comforting fluorescent light. I have never seen fluorescent light and thought of the word comforting. In
Well,
fact,
you know what we get
to be the opposite.
Well,
and here, where I am in Colombia,
yeah.
in Colombia, everybody here uses fluorescent lights. So when you go by people's homes, apartments, and houses, the glow that's coming out of the window, to me, I find it to be so cold and maybe sterile. There's nothing homey about it at all.
That is a drag. I agree. That's a drag. What I'm talking about is the banality, the comfort in banality, the comfort of the sameness is what the homogeneity. It's a drag too, because there's no there's characters working there, of course, but
Right.
there's no persona like this French fuck that runs this place here, right?
You say that with affection.
Yeah, no, he's a French fuck. Anyways, I come here because he's here. But what we find what I'm saying is in that space, it's comforting because it's known and it's institutional. But this also, it's sort of like queering or psychedelizing a corporate space. But like, look at this place. This guy's already tripping. I mean, this guy clearly has been on a couple of journeys, right?
Okay.
So that's a different lighting and a different. I don't know. Well, we're digressing a little bit here, but I think that what we might be talking about is trying to find wholeness within the commercial space, which is really hard because everything is commodified. Everything is that space.
Oh yeah.
And I actually dig airports. I think airports, and maybe it's the same reason I dig Target, because of the banality of it. It's just like bland oatmeal that you could just sort of. Mm-hmm. And I also think it's like a practice for dying.
Practice for dying.
Yeah, it's staying in airports.
Should I ask you to go a little deeper on that? Because, I mean, that sounds like an episode all in itself.
Let's just drop it at that. But no, man, just like the meditation at an airport, just sitting at an airport. You ever hear Eno's Music for Airport?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's 6 hours. It's incredible.
Okay.
Actually, when someone is like tripping for like way longer than normal, like when it's getting to be the 10-hour mark, and I'm done playing whatever instrument, my back hurts, my playlist is exhausted, I just put on Eno's Music for Airport, which I highly recommend. There's a beauty and banality and sameness of it that I get when I go to the airport. At this point, I like going to the airport, and it's the same. I used to like book my stuff, so when I first started flying again after Ebola, I'm getting back in the world. I'm like, oh shit, there's a layover in Marrakesh or wherever, and I'm like, that's cool. I'll do that layover, and then you get there, it's the same fucking place.
Yeah, and there's your comfort, and there's why it's comforting, because that's why Target and Kmart or Walmart, I don't even think Kmart exists anymore, but the Walmarts is because you know exactly what you're gonna get. If I put you in a Target in San Francisco, if I put you in a Target in Kansas City, if I put you in a Target, name a place, you're gonna get the exact same experience. Yeah. And it's comforting. There's comfort.
It's comforting, just like heroin.
Okay.
It's the same thing, bro. You're going to be like, and it's going to slowly kill you.
And yeah, Target could slowly kill you if you're not careful.
Yeah, that's why trip when you're there. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, sounds good. It sounds like a good place to wrap this one up too. Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. So let's just remind everybody again about the disintegration meeting. It's every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. at 116 West 23rd Street on the 5th floor. Cost is $30 for each 90-minute session. Drop-ins are welcome, but you could also go to your website, DimitriMugianis.com, and book your spot right there and pay for it right there.
Yeah, and leave some comments below, because we like to hear those and get that going.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Dimitri.
Next week.
And I will
Take
see
care.
you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.